Hierarchy Council vessel. 2 days after first contact with the Gaian Imperium. Personal log of the 8th Council member Alpha Apex. I stood in the presidium of the Council's ship, enjoying my siphon canister while mentally reviewing the now retired FCO in Dala's report. I can understand why she retired while reviewing this report. The Nymphilians on board are having a field day with metaphors, and one is appropriate for this moment. On the edge of a sword we stand. How cultural. We stand here on one side of hierarchy space. On the other side, the unknown regions where this Gaian Imperium, a collection of a handful of different species apparently uplifted from their homeworld and released on the galaxy by a fairy tale. But the evidence is there. One coincidence I can ignore, 2 can be explained. All of this? I don't like it. It's not enough evidence, not enough hard proof. Just a picture of some white-skinned beings standing beside these pink-skinned humans. However, I cannot ignore the similarities presented. Every species has an instinctual fear of these features. It was explained as just natural aversion to predator species. We are one of the older races, and we have stories of these great monsters that visited horrors on worlds, tales from before we were more emotional and whimsical. I focus on the hard data. Unknown multiple species unified under a single banner. Gaian Imperium. Imperium, Empire, many under one. Gaian, name of their homeworld. They unified their many under the banner of their homeworld. As expected of any species going into space. Technology, crude. Kinetic weaponry, the most lethal of which has a huge power draw. They utilize nuclear fission, banned technology. No shielding technology, not that it appears needed. Explorer classified ships, most likely a deception, must be a warship. Size and armaments are too much for simple exploration, as well as their ability to survive prolonged unshielded combat with Nymphilian warships. Crew technology, but effective. Culture. Hammer and shield is their focus. Construction tools and defensive armament. Reported mantra of their people: we are the hammer and shield, because we are strong. The strong protect the weak, and we are the hammer and shield. Strength? What is strength? Unity. They are a united people. Architecture hints at unknown origins. Sharp angular designs of their ships hint at prospect of predatory origin. Similar designs only seen in the ruins of Death Order cultures. Unlikely coincidence. Similarities too unavoidable. Combined with confirmed visual inspection of a human of the Gaian Imperium, predatory canines and intense forward-facing eyes indicate predatory origin. Artifacts offered with exchange of information are to be deemed of cultural importance. As such, the armoured figure in the office statue is assumed to be this imperator mentioned with reverence during initial investigation. The figure is armoured, hiding who they are, perhaps allowing anyone to view themselves as the figure. Empire spread and conquer others will be effective for indoctrinating people into your rule. Let them see themselves their own liberators. Speculated technology, matter conversion technology. FCO in Dala was incomplete in her investigation on this avenue, and did not inquire about the power source for this technology. Must investigate as to what a Dyson sphere is. Initial speculations are, based upon implied translations, an artificial construct around a sun, intending to absorb and utilize the star's own fusion energy as a power source. While technologically possible, the logistical and cost of undertaking such a construction, profit outweighs its returns. Note: Gaian Admiral said half a Dyson sphere. Partial constructions could have been built with less effort for significant returns on power if MCT report is true. Space travel technology, referred to as slipspace. A gravity well is generated that allows them to instantly travel vast distances. Not as efficient as FTL, but it does not appear on sensors. Siphon canister drained. 15 minutes still until the Imperial Council arrives. Plenty of time to review all the notes again. Recall things to avoid during the initial meeting. MCT will not be traded, but can get a confirmation that it exists. Past and war are sensitive topics. Bring up only with caution or to emotionally disrupt. On board IN Hades. You're telling, Admiral Santos, that these people are terrified of us because... Why again? Grand General Ada Mare spoke out, as she is seated on the right of the voice of the people, Dren Nakmor, and to the left of her is Yuna Kinsu. Dren chimed in after the Grand General. You have to understand, we were hoping to find life out here. But to find people to be terrified of what we are, that's a bit much to take in. Dren is a hulking specimen, 8 feet tall of reptilian might, black and red coloration, feathers around her throat with bright blue splotches at the tips of those feathers. Admiral Santos lets out a sigh. As per the written report. A tense tone to their voice. I believe it to be an instinctual response. They weren't aware of the faces they were making while I spoke, distinct signs of worry and, most importantly, fear. Was blatant across her face as I mentioned Metrosexes. I take it they don't like the engineers. General Mare simply huffed and leaned back. An aged human woman, earned respect in the military branch keeping the peace, and retired to council seat, advising the whole military. Well, I guess it's best we don't tell them that she is alive then. And yes, we read the report, and now we are asking you to repeat and clarify, because frankly the idea of this advanced alien empire is strange. Yuna chimes in. General, these are aliens we are talking about. They develop differently than us. Just because their society doesn't conform to what we think it should, doesn't mean we should be so quick to dismiss them or to disdain. Aye, mon frere. That bio accent thick to Dren speaking. We should be welcoming of our neighbours after all. 'Tis only right. Admiral Santos chimed in again. Councillor Nakmor, Dren, you're going to make someone wet themselves just by being there. Please refrain from hugging anyone, will you? With a grumble of agreement from Dren, General Mare and Yuna quietly chuckle. So, we are going to arrive soon with just Hades. Any final words of advice, Santos? General Mare lit a cigar, taking a slow draw from it. Admiral Santos adjusted their uniform on screen. Just one, ma'am. It goes without saying, but show 'em the best of humanity. The council trio simply nodded and spoke in rare unity. We always do. Hierarchy Council vessel. Everyone stared in awe as from the blackness of nothing melted into existence the largest ship they had ever seen. The Imperial exploration vessel was not much smaller than this monster, but immediately everyone could tell it was a different breed of ship. It was a clear display of strength. Any species that could come together to build such a monstrosity was not to be trifled with, even with inferior technology. This thing was clearly made for combat. Now everyone believed the smaller vessel was an exploration craft, especially when compared to this monstrosity. What kind of people are these Gaians? The question of the day. Who builds ships like this other than the obscenely paranoid? How would such paranoid people have such unity to even build such a thing? It was contradiction after contradiction. The council races watched as this thing drew ever closer, its size made more and more obvious. View screens displaying it as it approached, slow and lumbering, or cautious. No one could tell, but it arrived and the signal was received. Permission to board with Imperial, Cerberus Council members, and escort party. They were cleared. Guards were stationed at the designated docking bay. The Hierarchy Council members were there to greet their hopefully new additions to the hierarchy. View screens were locked onto the approaching party. A small vessel, a tiny speck compared to the mammoth that arrived. shaped like some kind of predatory bird. Were the rumors true? Whispers among council species all along the ship. A predatory species in space? The first ones encountered, ever? And beside the ship flying along with them were odd shapes. Smaller ships, but was that arms and legs? Sentient-shaped drones, a novel idea. And as they got closer, more details came into view. Those were indeed sentient-shaped somethings flying in space alongside the approaching ship. 2 arms, 2 legs, which seemed to be the almost universal shape of sentient life. The vessel lands in the docking bay with its escort party. The trio of machines lower down. The various engines stop roaring, and they remove their masks. Each one was 3.5 meters tall. Silver skin? Elongated faces, but they had those same forward-facing eyes. Oddly enough, they had obvious mammalian traits. Everyone recognized the familiar curved hips and ample bosom 2 of them had, along with the distinct male appearance of the last in contrast. They knew eyes were on them, so they moved with trained precision. Shocking precision, as they stood while the vessel opened up and out stepped a human. Old-looking, graying black fur on their head or hair. Universal sign of age. Wrinkled dark-colored skin, but piercing blue eyes. Dressed in a sharp uniform, easily recognizable as some form of military attire. Followed behind by something that caused the guards to twitch, reflexes making them almost cause an incident, as the 8-foot-tall reptilian stepped out. Black and red-colored scales, feathers around her head, yes, her. A reptilian sporting impossible-to-miss mammalian traits. This one was in similar attire as the older human, though distinctly less military. And finally a short human, blonde hair, much younger than the older military women. All 3 were women, if mammalian features are anything to go off of. And after all that, their personal guards stepped out of the vehicle. Armoured and concealed, but they were something else. These weren't the same armoured beings shown in reports. This armour was more advanced, specialised, differently coloured but only slightly. Silver instead of green, but still the same black and purple. An emblem on their shoulders. A winged human wielding their traditional hammer and shield. There were just 2 of these guards, and each one had a massive hammer on their back. These Imperium folks sure do love their hammers, don't they? The trio of council members, their 2 guards and 3 towering mechanical escorts approached the hierarchy council members and stopped before politely bowing and extending their hands in friendship. They smiled, though were conscious enough to conceal their teeth, though the hulking reptilian's teeth could still be faintly seen. Personal log of Liaf Council Member Alpha Apex. I simply must remember to try and convince Indala to not retire, but I believe I won't be able to. I have met these beings of the Imperium. The human alone was unnerving, but the walking and talking mammalian reptile, feathered reptile, you do not get more obviously predatory than that. Pure carnivore species, no doubt, most likely the leader of the trio. Predatory, bigger, and obviously stronger than the others. Wait, notes mentioned Inquisitors. Perhaps the armoured figures are such beings, there to ensure or enforce this Imperial doctrine on these predators. Keep them in check so they do not run rampant on us right away. Speculations lead nowhere. Quiet the mind, watch, listen, facts. Gather facts first. Towering mechanical beings, breathing apparatuses, must be the technomorphs as per the report. Reptilian, the anthropomorphic being no doubt, a human born with the features of a native creature of their world. Terrifying. 2 humans, simple. 1 young, intelligent looking, glasses on her face, indicate sight impaired. Why not fixed with genetic manipulation? Cloned eyes? Cybernetic replacements? Older human, lifespan unknown, No attempts to conceal age. Graying hair is well-known sign of age. Wrinkled skin another sign. No attempts to conceal. Age is a sign of respect among these people? If not, then why not conceal? Age means experience. Experience means intelligence. Simple. My back tendrils shift and sway with anticipation, eager to read these beings. Already standing here, looking at them, so much is known. So much is unknown. So much confirmed. Technomorphs appear real. To go through such efforts to falsify something as this is improbable. They had no way to know our feelings towards sentient mechanical beings. No reason to divulge false information about such entities. No deception. Technomorphs real implies dire machines are real. Nanite virus. Infection. Concern. Council members, I assume your traveling companions are safe for travel? I gesture to the Technomorphs. The small human, 1.5 meters tall, roughly spoke. Yes, Ambassador. Intense decontamination and given a nanite suppressant spray. Lasts for 4 days. She takes a moment. That's roughly 4 of your solar days, give or take an hour or 2. Intelligent. Surprising and welcomed. The hierarchy greets you all well, then. I take their offered hands with my own, shaking in the simple gesture. Other council members come up and do the same. I am Alpha Apex, head of my people, the Liaf. The reptile lets out a sigh of relief. Something the matter? The reptile shakes her head. Oh, not at all, mon cher. Just glad to have a name to put to your people that isn't from our fiction. You see, we somehow conjured up, in our fictional stories, mind you, stories of little grey aliens who look remarkably similar to y'all, just a bit shorter. Like us, but shorter. A Liaf Beta, perhaps? How would they know? Coincidence? She has made no comment on the other council members. The Nymphilian is sticking close to them. Isabella always was overly friendly. Fascinating. Perhaps you should highlight some of your favourites and share them, once we find a way to open our networks to one another. It may also help me find out if any of my kin have explored beyond our borders, illegally or not. Find interest, wedge into negotiations, make them want to share. We all entered the council chambers, everyone to their designated locations, the new species at the end of the table. They had not offered much. Recent history, brief overviews of their origins, details were clearly left out. The most information we have is from the initial contact interview. Now it's time to dissect that, and see what else these Gaians will reveal, now that they are at the table. We, I start the proceedings, are the Hierarchy Council, the ruling body made of the sentient species we have encountered in our few thousand-year history in the galaxy. We span much of the galaxy and have justly ruled over these many worlds for those millennia. I stand tall and start motioning to the other members of the council. I am the head of the Liaf people. We are the masters of science and technology. With me are the Nymphilians, the explorers and healers of our hierarchy. My arm moves to the Nymphilians, antennae from their foreheads slightly twitching, leathery wings curled against their backs, hoods and coverings over their eyes, though they are still capable of seeing, their head tendrils hanging out from under the hood and over their chests. Their lengthy ears poking out through holes in their hoods, the vibrant pink skin visible, much more noticeable than the pale pink of the humans. The Gom, who have mastered terraforming and provide the bulk of the hierarchy with food. I motion to the Gom, whom were the ones that conducted the initial interview. Horns protruding from their heads, elongated ears, though shorter than the Nymphilians, purple-skinned, a meter tall. And the Inquai, the most talented builders in all the hierarchy. The insectoid people of the Inquai are little more than 1/2 meter tall, black and red exoskeleton with their antennae up, and twitching in the air, their additional feelers tucked to their backs. After introductions, I turned and motioned to the Imperial members as I lowered myself into my seat. The reptilian and voice of the people of the Imperium rose to speak.
I am Dren Nakmor. I speak on behalf of the people of the Imperium, elected to my position by the people. With me is Ada Mayor and Yuna Kinsu, the head of our combined military forces, and Grand Architect of our infrastructure, respectively. We are here in peace.
Interesting statement. I am mighty aware of our origins and how it affects your collective people.
You various folks grew up avoiding predators, feeding off plant life, living in fear until you mastered tools and made safer dens away from the predators. From there, y'all grew and reached for the stars. That is mighty admirable of y'all, of any species, honestly. And in y'all's 3,000-year history, you have only horror stories and legends of sentient predators reaching the stars and consuming everything.
Dren shifts and adjusts her stance.
First and foremost, we are an omnivore species. Only our techno-organic siblings can subsist off fossil fuels. We will do everything in our power to put your fears to rest and build trust between our people.
The reptilian started to step away from the table and pace around the seats her people are at. Her pacing had the no doubt desired effect. Everyone was watching her. A skulking predator, they were fixated on her, watching.
We are a people of many talents. We adapt to the situation at hand. If there was one thing I had to put forth as what we as a collective species provide.
She stopped her pacing and stared down the table.
Humanity.
Faces twist with obvious confusion, mine included. Humanity? Human-ity? Dren was not a human, an anthropomorphic being, and yet she has humanity? All the divulgent species of Gaia come from humans?
Humanity is the essence of what makes us ourselves. Empathy, morality, caring. Our ability to endure hardships, to forge friendships on the smallest of common ground. Our curiosity sends us down very different paths, as you no doubt have noticed with our technology. We bring all that we are to the table.
Dren lets out a soft exhale and sits down.
But we have no desire to be ruled by you. We will offer medical aid to your people, relief to suffering worlds.
No doubt an unconscious reaction, she smiled, flashing those teeth.
We are the hammer and shield. We will protect you when you cannot. Our strength will be there when yours falters.
Yuna now stood to take the stage. We have a poem. This is but a fragment of it, that we hold dear to our hearts. Closing her eyes as if to focus. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Yuna cleared her throat. I have worked hard to keep our infrastructure running as smoothly as possible, which astounds me every day I review the reports. We can welcome a few billion more people before we would have to start more aggressive colonization efforts, just to make physical space for all the people. This is, of course, just preliminary guesswork of the rough numbers you have provided us, and under the assumption that we lose our minds and stop our expansion efforts, while taking in large amounts of alien beings. With a proud but close smile on her face, Yuna looked around the table. We are here to do as we had anticipated and hoped. We are here to welcome your people, and we hope you offer the same in kind. Fascinating. They view themselves as stronger than us? Our people who have lasted 3,000 cycles, and brought numerous other species into our fold. Not uncommon. Proud species require a lesson at times, to be humbled. I shall have to schedule for such a thing. Though the statement is not completely from simple pride. Their prized technology would allow them to be able to accommodate large numbers of people. They are obviously intelligent and welcoming. They view themselves as caregivers and protectors. We shall probably test their capacity for that. The other council members quietly murmur among themselves. I stand alone, staring at the Gaians, studying. Dren and Yuna converse quietly. The old one, Ada, is just quietly resting, gaze staring into nothing but clearly in thought. Very well, Gaian Council. You propose to be caregivers. You offer your services in protecting our worlds, in aiding in disasters that may befall us. Nodding my head along with my statement. As per protocol, we shall test your capacity for this. The Nympphilian Council shifted. Isabella interjects with her statement. Alpha Apex, sir. Is not their willingness and capability to defend their border world the event that brought us here not a suitable example? Isabella makes a solid point, so I shall no longer conceal my intent. Madam Isabella, the Gaian Imperium came here and made a bold claim. A young species, only a few hundred cycles into space exploration, compared to our 3,000 cycles. I believe that our young guests need to be made aware of whom they are making such bold claims to. I turn to gaze at the council, a momentary startle of my heart as the old one is staring at me. Predatory gaze, eager, a hint of bloodthirst and pride. So that is why she is here. They anticipated this? A clever species indeed. Clearing her throat, Ada sat up more and looked dead into my gaze. We accept the challenge. Her reply is met with grumbles from the other two. It appears you are not all in agreement on this matter. I motion to Dren and Yuna, who are obviously a bit annoyed. You wish to test the might of the Imperial military. That is my jurisdiction, and I can do with it as I see fit. If the people do not like it, they can vote me out of my seat, and my replacement can do better. But I don't think anyone would fold me for my pride in the military. So please. As she leans forward, that predator fang-bearing grin. Bring your best. She leans back, those lips closing. We are Cerberus. In ancient lore, that is a three-headed hound that guards the gates of Hades. Our flagship is not named Iron Hades without reason. We welcome to learn from those with more experience. I respond with a simple nod. One rule. None of your hazardous weaponry. Your nuclear fission weaponry is highly dangerous and illegal by our laws. We will of course provide your people with a much better means of powering your technology. And in the interest of maintaining peace between our different groups. Sad as I am that you do not wish to join the hierarchy fully, you may maintain your practices in your own space, but any ship of yours that enters our space with such technology will be dealt with firmly. I slowly stand and clasp my hands together. With that, first meeting adjourned. I shall contact you with details for the test shortly. I watch as the trio stand and politely bow, right arm across their chests before they say their goodbyes and leave. I retired to my chambers and pulled up the test plan. We are already at a suitable world to conduct the test. My personal automated fleet is only a few hours away. The Nympphilians come to me to complain about my stance, and I simply dismiss them. They are blinded by their visions of the face of the unknown. Religion, always, muddies the waters of logic. I sent the proposed plan to the Imperium. A surprise attack is set to happen between an hour from now to several hours from now. They are to defend our vessel and the planet from the incoming fleet, and are open to use any weaponry they have, excluding their nuclear arsenal, without fear of loss of life, due to the automated nature of the fleet. However, they will be hit with intense EMP weaponry intended to disable them, as well as our vessel, harmlessly. Simulated damage will be done to crew on the Council vessel during weaker attacks, to test how they can handle treating alien physiology. They accepted, and now I wait. The fleet's set to arrive in 3 hours from now. I look forward to humbling them, making them realize they need us to guide them.